Final Fantasy 16 website is live, you guys. Oh boy! I've been waiting for this thing all month. Many of us thought it was going to get delayed. But holy crap. Let's see what morsels of information we can gather from the Final Fantasy 16 website. Join me. As we pull up the website right here, we are greeted with this amazing artwork. We have our protagonist in the front. He's looking like he's hopped out of Devil May Cry, and that's a compliment. Look at this arm right here. He has a bunch of Ifrit looking mail and plate and spikes coming off. We look in his other hand and we have his big old, is this two-handed, one-handed sword? Maybe like a broadsword or something. And he's dripping this lava or this magic pulsing energy. Probably from Phoenix. And man, this is just one of the coolest looking designed Final Fantasy characters in a while. Yeah, he has some similarities to the dude from 14, but I'm just loving this dude. Let's compare him really fast to previous protagonists, shall we? All right, I just grabbed these character designs from Dissidia really fast, and I gotta say, man, a lot of people love their little emo boy Final Fantasy characters and stuff. But for me, I like them to be more muted, more realistic. I love that tactics and Final Fantasy 12 kind of grit and realism to the characters and the protagonists. And I'm thinking 16 is really capitalizing on that. You know, it's got that 14 tactics, 12 kind of vibe, which I really like. I don't like your moody, quiet, sullen Final Fantasy protagonist. You know, I like my Zidans, my Tidus, my Vaughn. I like the more happy-go-lucky, loud, kind of boastful Final Fantasy protagonists. I don't know, they're more fun. Alright, but let's compare them really fast, okay? So we have Hero of Light. Dude's cooler. Farian from 2. 16's guy's much cooler. We got the little Onion Knight. 16's got him beat. Cecil. Cecil's cool, but I'm not... The long silver white hair. Eh. Bartz is a little funny dude, but this dude destroys him. Terra's really cool, but you got to go with this design. Cloud is iconic. Cloud, Squall, Zidane, and Tidus are all pretty amazing. But even Cloud, I mean, it's got the anime spiky hair, the big-ass sword. I'm just liking how gritty and realistic they're going with 16. So, I'm going to say he's up there with Tidus and Zidane. Because I can't really throw those guys under the bus. But who else we have? We have Vaughn. Vaughn's very much in the same vein. Although Vaughn has that open chest thing or whatever, which is kind of weird. But better than Lightning. And then Noctis, I did like Noctis. Noctis is pretty cool. But again, he's the emo-y, futuristic kind of Final Fantasy protagonist. And I'm just really digging 16. Okay, so let's go back to the website. We have... Look at this gorgeous art, man. We have the two icons next to him. Ifrit and Phoenix. They're kind of look like they're locked in a battle, and we have the protagonist right in the middle of it. Yeah, kind of foreshadowing. The legacy of the crystals has shaped our history for long enough. I love that so much. I love that we're going back to classic Final Fantasy, classic-ass Final Fantasy, with crystals and dragons and castles and factions and magic. You know, get this Magitech, get this futuristic stuff out of here. Even though I did enjoy those, my heart belongs to the medieval Final Fantasy games. Okay, so looking back at this art, I don't believe this is the city that we start in. This looks like he's definitely later on in the game. And maybe this is where he takes up with the various sellswords and the renegades that he becomes a brotherhood in. Maybe he's stationed here later on in the game. But I don't think this is where he begins in. I think they start in a little smaller, quaint little kingdom. Okay, but I could stare at this thing all damn day. Let's go down a little bit. Here's the trailer that all us Final Fantasy fans probably watched a gazillion times. The world. Oh my gosh. Look how beautiful this is. So we have this huge crystal. Is this one of the mother crystals? Maybe. Very blue, very cool colors. Looks like a place I'd like to live. We have these kind of old-timey looking buildings, though. This is almost like Venice or something. And we got the smoke coming out. This looks like a very fun place to live. Got a lot of boats, a lot of fishermen. Maybe this is like a fishing society. And then all throughout, we have these long piston pillars kind of going up into the sky. Maybe these are just like various focal points or capitals within the city. And of course, we have the major capital up in the back, which is going to house probably the leaders of this area. All right, let's click on more details and see what we find. The world. Yep. Here is the infamous painting that was revealed on the Square Enix hiring page. We have seen this for quite some time. Some of us thought it might have been a spin-off. Some of us did think it was Final Fantasy 16. But we look here, and we have this crazy-looking castle going up into the sky. I don't even know if that foundation is correct. It looks like it's going to topple over any day now. But, oh man, this artwork, dude. Final Fantasy has the best artists ever working on the games. We come down. Looks like we have some mountains, maybe some snow. We got some light shining down into the city. And then over to the far left over here in the corner, we see a silhouetted finger and a dragon over him. Is this our protagonist? He looks a little more husky. It looks like he has a sword, though. I don't know. This is early concept art. It might not be the protagonist, but we do know that there are, dragons, familiars roaming around this world. Again, it's that classic, Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings, kind of medieval style, which I love. And the land that 16 takes place in is called Valisthea. No, Valisthea. Valisthea. I'm going to go with Valisthea. A land blessed in the light of the mother crystals. Let's go through this really fast. The land of Valisthea is studded with mother crystals, glittering mountains of crystal that tower over the realms around them, blessing them with aether. For generations, people have flocked to these beacons to take advantage of their blessing, using the aether to conjure magics that let them live lives of comfort and plenty. Great powers have grown up around each mother crystal, and an uneasy peace has long reigned between them. Yet now the peace falters as the spread of the blight threatens to destroy the dominions. So we have all these cities in this wonderful medieval world. They're all protected and graced by the mother crystals that are essentially their divine protector. They look to the mother crystal for solace, for protection. But there's something called the blight that is threatening the area to destroy their dominions. Where does this blight come from? Is it going to be, caused by the villain of this game? Is part of the game going to be finding out, the origin of the blight and how to destroy it? Blight sounds cool. I hope it's not the main deciding factor, though, because we've kind of seen that before. But, let's carry on. The icons and the dominance. Oh my gosh, dude. Everyone and their mother, who is a Final Fantasy fan, loves the summons. The summons are part of the identity, the DNA of Final Fantasy. And in this game, they look massive. They look super integral to the story. Oh my gosh, dude. Okay. Icons and their dominance. The icons are the most powerful and deadly creatures in Valisthea. Each resides within a dominant, a single man or woman who is placed with the ability to call upon their dread power. So the dominants are pretty much like summoners, except instead of calling an Aeon, an Esper, an Eidolon, instead of calling a summon from elsewhere within the world or within pocket universes or something, the summon resides within the dominant's body, within their soul. And in some of these nations, they're treated as royalty and admired for their strength. You know, they're worshipped, they're prayed to, they're loved, they're cherished. But in the opposite, some of the dominants are feared, hated. You know, it's kind of like that superhero angle in the comic books. You love the superheroes because you need them to save you, but at the same time, many of the superheroes end up destroying cities or causing chaos and fear. And many of them are used as pretty much slaves of war. So those who are born as dominants cannot escape their fate, however cruel they may be. So looks like it's going to be leaning on the dominants kind of having, you know, somewhat shitty lives. We scroll down and we see the giant world map. I love seeing a world map in a Final Fantasy. I love the lore. I'm hoping we can go to all these places and explore this vast land. You know, there's tons of water, mountains, airships, boats. We'll see. And here we are getting to the various factions of the game. I'm not going to go through each one. I'll sum them up for you. Okay, let's do a rapid fire of these factions, shall we? The Grand Duchy of Rosaria. This is where the protagonist and some of the main characters are going to start in. It looks like a smaller, quaint little kingdom where a couple of provinces kind of came together. And it looks like they're heavily dealing with the Blight. And the Blight is almost kind of turning them to ruin. Their mother crystal is called the Drake's Breath. It looks like all the mother crystals in the game are kind of named after a dragon part. That's Rosaria. Whew. Next faction we have is the Holy Empire of Sanbreque. Okay, if you played a Final Fantasy game, whenever there's a theocracy or a religion or a holy empire, 99% of the time they turn into the villains or the enemies of the game. I think this is going to be the same here. Their mother crystal is named after the Drake's head, and they're a little frou-frou kingdom who have kind of lived in harmony and peace, and they've had their comfort and security in this warring time. And their leader is the Holy Emperor, who they worship as the one true deity. So although we have these icons who are like gods, they view their emperor as the god, the one true deity. Yeah, if we look at their emblem, looks like we have two little dragons on either side with like a horn. It's like a unicorn dragon thing. I'm not sure which summon that can be. But as we go up, we see a figure. This is either a male or a female. It is probably the Holy Emperor. But as a summon or an icon, I mean, Ramu, maybe. It doesn't look like an old man with a beard, though. So I don't know who this could be. Let me know down below if you guys have an idea who the Sanbreque icon or summon may be. Or maybe they don't have one. Maybe they're just a holy order of, knights and they just have heavy power magic. We'll find out. Next one. The Kingdom of Wallowed? Wallowed? The Kingdom of the Wallowed. Wallowed. I don't know. But now this is interesting. Their mother crystal is the Drake Spine. And they control most of the east. But they've been at constant war with orcs and the beastmen. So it looks like they kind of live in a pretty crappy area that it's constantly fighting. I find the name of the orcs kind of interesting because I know there were some orcs in like 14 in the online games and maybe some of the classic ones, but orcs have been bigger in like Dragon Quest and things like that. I mean, I'm just seeing orc, it's like, you know, reminds me of Lord of the Rings. If we're fighting orcs in Final Fantasy, it's going to be interesting. But they're going against a bunch of different kind of species who are just attacking them constantly. But they've been able to succeed and fend them off. I think this is going to be a very cool area. You know, maybe it's like craggly and rocky and we just have orcs and goblins and beastmen just roaming around. This is going to be a sick area to visit. And if you look at their emblem, horse, hands down, that's like Ixion or something, their icon. And yeah, that's the Kingdom of Wallowed. The next one is the Dalmeckian Republic. Now, the Dalmecs got a name drop in the trailer from that saucy little lady who was talking to the men in like the tavern about the, you know, the great war that had occurred. The Dalmecs. They seem like a more rugged type people. Looking at their emblem really fast, we have like this kind of Viking Nordic looking helmet here. We have all these emblems hanging down. These kind of look like the tattoos that... No. They kind of look like the tattoos that the protagonist and the Brotherhood get later on, but I'm sure these are different. We have the, looks like kind of element symbols. We have, you know, water. We have the clouds. We have the earth, maybe fire and air or something. This is very more in-depth than like these top three. Yeah, these bottom three emblems are kind of more varied and more kind of wacky and crazy than these ones. These ones look very uniform and official. So maybe these tribes, these kingdoms down here are kind of more just like go with the flow. They're not, you know, super orderly and got to stick up their ass. Maybe they're just like super rugged, warring people. Okay, maybe I was wrong. Reading it really fast, they do have a parliament, so they're probably not like bandits and savages. But they live in a mountain. It's like the heart of the mountain, and their mother crystal is called the Drake's Fang. And their Titan, I mean, their icon is, of course, Titan, who resides in their dominance. So they do live in like the rocky, craggly kind of area, and that's the Dalmecs. Whoa. Okay, this kingdom looks very interesting. The Iron Kingdom. They're a small group of islands. Kind of reminds me of Game of Thrones, the Iron Islands. This is the Iron Kingdom. But, you know, Game of Thrones, what's that? Final Fantasy. Boop. Game of Thrones. Boop. They're called the Crystalline Orthodox, another extreme faith that worship the crystals. Their mother crystal is called the Drake's Breath. However, these guys freaking hate dominance, dude. If a dominant is born on their island, it's executed. These guys think of them as unholy abominations. So poor little Joshua, the dude, the little kid in Rosaria with, you know, the phoenix inside of him, he would be slayed in an instant if he ever visited the Iron Kingdom. They speak their own language. They're just super serious. They hate the dominance. They don't want any of that summon stuff nearby. That's the Iron Kingdom. And their emblem, two big old axes. And it looks like we have a giant pike or a thorn or an arrow or a tooth. Just lodged in the middle of both axes. Very cool, very interesting. Oh, and because of the island and maybe like the fishing and the stuff, it looks like we have two little anchors at the bottom of the emblem. Pretty cool. Okay. The last one, the Crystalline Dominion. I read this one. It's kind of interesting. It's where the tallest mother crystal reigns, the Drake's Tail. And it looks like a long time ago, all of these different factions were kind of fighting for this one particular area. We look at their emblem. It's like maybe in the middle, this is the Crystalline Dominion, and all around it were some of the factions that were fighting for its dominance during the time. But it says As part of the peace treaty, the islands around the Drake's Tail became an autonomous dominion led by a council of representatives from the surrounding nations. So after their fight, a lot of the surrounding nations kind of offered up delegates and sort of became the representative of the Crystalline Dominion. No dominant takes their home here, so we don't have any icon kind of residing in the Crystalline Dominion. I don't know, we'll see what this one looks like. Maybe the Crystalline Dominion is this bad boy right here. I mean, if anything was a Crystalline Dominion, it kind of looks like this. It looks like we got some islands and stuff. So I would say maybe this is, and this looks tall as hell. Maybe this is where the Crystalline Dominion resides. Alright, let's go back. Oh, this is so cool, man, getting all this lore. Okay. Oh, okay, that's the end. That's the end of the world that we get on the website. Thank you, Square. This is more than enough to dissect over the upcoming weeks. Let's take a look at the characters. I've seen them already, but let's talk about them. Guys, look at this art again, man. This is like the Final Fantasy Tactics 12 art, man. I love this. This is Final Fantasy. Give me this over spiky-haired Cloud and Squall any day, man. Our first dude is named Clive Rossfield. Now, I've seen a lot of people on the internet and Twitter today kind of making fun of this name, but this is fits the world. I mean, they're going for a more realistic world with, you know, medieval, old-timey names. Clive totally fits. I don't want this character being called, you know, Raindrop or freaking, you know, Cloud, Squall, Lightning. No, Clive perfectly fits him, dude. And this is the art of him when he was younger in the original trailer, when he was hanging out with his you know, the kid with the phoenix. We'll get to his name later, and the girl. Clive Rossfield, our new protagonist of Final Fantasy 16. I really dig the name. I think it fits. If you look at all the characters and like tactics and things like that, you know, their names weren't super crazy. I like the grounded, you know, normal medieval names. So he is actually the firstborn son of the Archduke of Rosaria. The Archduke that we saw in the trailer when he was mentioning the Blight and he was talking to all the people in his tavern. This is his first son. Now, that surprises me. I thought he was just going to be like a hired guy or maybe like a mentor or a babysitter to Joshua. But yeah, he's the firstborn son. If you carry on reading, we kind of get a sense that, you know, all expected him, being the older brother of Joshua, to receive the Phoenix's power, but it never came to him and went to his little brother instead. I wonder if, you know, we're going to see some scenes, maybe some past scenes that shows Clive being a little bitter. I don't know. I kind of get from his sense of his personality that, oh, I just spat on you guys. I get a sense of his personality that, you know, he isn't conceited. He probably loves his brother. He's made his peace with it. He's moved on to training with the sword and becoming a badass knight. But maybe he does hold some kind of, I don't want to say grudge, but maybe he's just a little disappointed that he doesn't have any icon of his own. So yeah, he dedicated himself to mastering the blade, and he's only 15 right here in the beginning of the game. You know, Final Fantasy, they love their youngins. But he won a tournament when he was younger, and he was dubbed the first Shield of Rosaria. He was tasked to guard his brother, Joshua, and he was given a little bit of firepower. I wonder how that process works. We saw in the trailer, like, Joshua, you know, doing stuff with his hand with fire. So maybe Clive, maybe anyone in this world can kind of receive a little bit of power from each dominance. I mean, we've seen the combat with Clive where he's switching from, you know, Titan powers to Phoenix powers to Garuda powers. So maybe a dominant can just willingly give them a little bit of spice, a little bit of magic power to use. But that's cool. I mean, we see him fighting the Marlboro in the trailer, shoots the fire from his hand. So he's got a little bit of fire magic in the beginning of the game. Okay, and then we see that his promising career is going to end in tragedy at the hands of the mysterious dark icon Ifrit, whatever you want to call him, setting him on a dangerous road to revenge. And we saw in the beginning of the trailer, Clive looks very pissed. He's hell-bent on revenge. We'll see why in a minute. But I dig this protagonist, dude. I like him a lot more in his, time skip older form, but he looks really dope here too. Next, we move on to Joshua, the younger brother, the second son of the Archduke of Rosaria. And he is obviously the one who received Phoenix as the icon. But through reading this, he's a little more timid. He's a little more weak. People didn't really expect him to prove himself. But he's the one who he got the icon inside of him. So he's the bookish younger son. He isn't as strong or brave like his brother Clive. And it looks like he's scared of carrots on his dinner plate. Yeah, I'd much rather play as Clive than Joshua, but, maybe we do get to play as Joshua a little bit. Maybe in the past. Maybe later on. Maybe he's more of like a red mage. He just hangs out in the back, sling spells, things like that. But, he seems like a cool character. Now, the last line is interesting. From the original trailer, I thought that Joshua was going to get murked in the beginning of the game, and that's why the main protagonist is pissed off. And maybe Joshua doesn't die. Maybe Joshua, ends up turning into the Phoenix, or a part of Joshua remains in the Phoenix. And then at the end of Final Fantasy 16, the Phoenix, with Joshua's spirit inside of it, is able to reconcile with Clive. Maybe Clive is able to pull some piece, some memory, something of Joshua out of the Phoenix. Or Joshua is just dead, and, we only get to see a little bit of him in the beginning of the game. That would be sad. We only see 3 characters here on this website right now. People need to relax. There's going to be tons more characters to come. There isn't just going to be 3 main characters in a Final Fantasy game. We're going to get lots of information. But that's Joshua. Badass older brother, little timid younger brother, but housing some kind of crazy potential and fire powers within inside of him. So the last little gal we have on the list is Jill Warwick. Now, she was taken from her home in the Northern Territories, and she was she was taken at a young age to become a ward of Rosaria. So where Joshua and Clive are hanging out, she was taken to go live in Rosaria with those people, securing a kind of peace between warring nations. That sucks. I feel bad for her. I wonder how she's dealing with that, how she came to deal with that over the years. In the trailer, she's smiling and having fun, so I'm glad that she found a relationship with Clive and Joshua. She's gracious, unassuming, and she's become a trusted confidant to her brothers. She's right here. It says her brothers, so they're not blood related. But over the years, since they took her, they've become like 3 awesome little siblings. And I'm gonna love it if we do end up getting to play as all 3 at the same time. It'd be really cool. Now, if you look at her design, very white, very gray, very blue, very cold. But we have a little crystal hanging off her neck here. And without a doubt, she's going to house, or does house, the icon of Shiva. I mean, she's got to be connected to Shiva in some way, right? I mean, it has to be. Shiva, Phoenix, Clive, poor dude, has nothing, but he's going to get a crap ton of powers in the game. And those are all the characters we have so far. We've seen tons more characters in the trailer. I'm sure we'll get, bios and backgrounds on them soon. The next major drop of information on Final Fantasy 16 is in 2021. I cannot freaking wait! You guys, you gotta be hyped. I mean, this game is going to be freaking amazing. I can just already tell from the lore, the characters, the art. The story is going to be there. The story is definitely going to be there. And the gameplay looks amazing too. Some people are disappointed that it's not turn-based. But, you know, Final Fantasy is a series that constantly reinvents itself. It has progressively changed over the years, and I applaud it for that. It's a series that takes risks. It doesn't do the same thing over and over again. And I'm sure we're going to have some kind of party members. Either, you know, people rocking with us. We see in the trailer he has his Brotherhood friends. You know, if we can switch to those characters, you know, issue commands, that'll be cool. But even if they're just, you know, AI controlled, roaming around with us, and we mainly play as Clive, that's sweet too. It's still going to have that Final Fantasy identity at its core, trust me. Well, there we have it, guys. The Final Fantasy 16 website that launched today, October 29th. If you haven't gone to the website yet, definitely do. Let me know down below any juicy morsels or Easter eggs you guys found. I'm sure there's tons of stuff I missed. We could scrub through this website for hours upon hours. But Final Fantasy 16 is here, guys. Definitely subscribe to Burly Bowman down below. I will be covering Final Fantasy news and other video game news in the upcoming weeks. And I'm just so excited for this game. It looks like it's going to be 10 out of 10. Yeah, I'm overhyped, but it's Final Fantasy, man. And it's a new one, a new mainline Final Fantasy with awesome medieval-ness. Okay, guys, until next time, smooth sailing.